Hi, Sean Still, and in this video we're going to talk about the JIRA reports and how those reports can become seed information for a team retrospective. All right, so we're going to navigate to our test project. And once we get to our test project, we're going to go to reports. And within reports, we're going to look at the sprint report for the previous sprint. Okay, so in this scenario, we've got a team that recently completed their sprint, and part of their post-sprint activity is to complete their retrospective ceremony. And in the retrospective ceremony, the team is going to come together, and they are just simply going to ask themselves what went well, what didn't go so well, and what they need to do to improve in order to be a better team. And JIRA actually provides us with a couple of very key pieces of information that can be used as seed material for this retrospective. And we're going to look at this in terms of a couple of the different roles within the team. Starting off with the product owner. All right, so the product owner, again, is the link between the team and the customer. All right, and it's really important that trust be built between the team and the product owner. We want to build that trust, and we don't want to do anything that's going to erode that trust. So if I am playing the role of a product owner, I look at this and I go, okay, all these completed issues, that's great, all right, but there was one issue that you made a commitment to as a team, but you failed to deliver on that commitment. And I think it's well within the rights of the product owner to ask for an explanation as to why that happened. And I do believe that the team owes it to the product owner to give them an explanation as to why they weren't able to live up to their sprint commitments. It doesn't mean that there's any kind of stick involved. It doesn't mean that there's any kind of punishment or negative aspect of it. It's just simply a point for a conversation where the team can say, yes, we committed to this story, but we were unable to deliver it because of XYZ reason. So from the product owner's perspective, the issues in the sprint report that were not completed, all right, those are things that the product owner can ask questions about. From a Scrum Master point of view, actually, let me take it from the team point of view first. Looking at it from the team point of view, a really good, mature team is going to look at anything that they failed to deliver on. They're going to take that relatively personally, all right, and they're going to do some deep reflection as to why that happened and how they can prevent it in the future. All right, if a team does not take it personally and really is kind of nonchalant about the issues that they didn't complete, to me that's not a very good sign, and that's probably something that the Scrum Master is going to need to address. All right, but a good mature team is really going to take a look at the things that they didn't deliver. They're going to take that personally, and they're really going to work hard to make sure they prevent that in the future. If you do have a team that is doing that reacts to stories that weren't completed in that way, that is a really good sign. And that's something that the Scrum Master will want to help facilitate and encourage. Now, if I put on my Scrum Master hat for a second, there's an additional piece of information in here that I really would love to see the team talk about. All right, and it's not only the issue that was not completed, but this issue down here, all right, that was added after the sprint started. Well, why was this story added after the sprint started? What in our sprint planning was not quite accurate that allowed that scenario to take place? Was it that a couple of the stories um, we thought were going to take much longer and they didn't? Um, Whatever the case may be, all right, we want to dig into those so that we can be better. So if we've got some stories that we estimated at maybe a 3 or a 5, but on retrospective, on reflection, we say, you know what, that story actually should have been a 1 or a 2, and here's the reasons why. Those are the types of things that a good Scrum Master is going to encourage the team um, to talk about. Um, because even though the stories were completed, um, even though we were able to pull in a stretch story, all right, we don't want to just pat ourselves in the back. We want to take a moment, look back, and say, well, why did we have this gap? All right, is there some adjustments that we need to make in the future? Um, so those are some examples of how we can use a report within JIRA um, to seed our retrospective. There's also another thing that a really good Scrum Master can leverage and to help guide the team in its retrospective. And if we look at in the sprint report, if we look at our burn down chart, you notice it has these two relatively um, long plateaus where no stories progressed to done. Ideally, we want a nice staircase going down in a predictable manner. And if you see, this takes huge leaps down each time. Well, that gives the Scrum Master the ability to go back and say, hey, why did these stories stall in this point? All right, did they reach a point in our workflow and then stalled? Um, is it because the product owner wasn't giving the stories attention in a timely manner? Whatever the case may be. Um, but even things like this are things that a good Scrum Master will read and help facilitate the team to discuss it in their retrospective. Okay, so again, that's how you can use some of the reports, such as the sprint report, to address a team's retrospective, to give them seed material to begin a discussion, and how we can look at it through various points of view, looking at it through the team point of view, looking at it through a Scrum Master point of view, looking at it through a product owner point of view. All right, thank you very much. Look forward to talking to you again.